We're currently navigating a difficult market. In a difficult market, I want to stick with the fundamentals that I see and contrast those with the fundamentals rather that the market is moving on. Today we saw the market react as I expected it to react to the CPI. Hot CPI, Fed's gonna have to stay tight, market pulls back. And then all of a sudden, the market seems to bottom. Almost instantly, the market bottoms and recovers for a narrative that I thought might take hold, but I happen to disagree with, and I'm going to share my disagreement, and you can decide which side of the issue you want to take. That's this notion of peaking inflation. Now, I'm not saying inflation is peaking or not peaking. I think it probably is peaking right now. It's possible. But I don't think that is the matter at hand, the issue at hand here. Because the Fed has had to change even more hawkish. In just a few months, in just a few meetings, they've gone from 75 basis points off the table, not something we're actively considering, ruling things out, to today saying everything is on the table. They said that 75 basis points when we did a 50 basis point hike. Clearly they were behind the curve then. You know, it's a very crazy situation right now. I am not convinced that there's any positivity to react to right now in terms of Fed and inflation. If there's economic stuff you're seeing, that I think is a different issue. But as with regards to the Fed and inflation, I'm seeing a little bit more continued hawkishness out of the Fed. I'm seeing inflation signs that it's rolling over, yes. Oil's coming down. Hopefully it doesn't go back up a little bit, but we'll see. I don't think it's going to go down much farther from here. Entirely possible, though. We've seen other commodities pull back. So there is an argument to be had. Is inflation peaking? But I don't think that was determined today. And I think we're going to have to adjust for rates being above 3%. I thought rates should have gone up and stayed up. If we do 100 basis points, which is the market is pricing in a very good probability of right now, if we do 100 basis points, I mean, the 10-year and the Fed funds rate are basically at the same time, or basically at the same rate. So there's just such a small spread. They can invert, they have inverted. But based on my preliminary analysis, you didn't want them to invert because that wasn't a good thing. So we'll have to see what happens with that, but I don't think rates belong below 3%. At least 10-year. I mean, everything except 10 years above 3%. I think this begins to reverse. And I think the buying of bonds and the falling of yields is what gave us the uncertainty. What made us question, is this peak inflation thing for real? Is the market just going to rally because it's assuming this is the peak, this is the climax right here? It might be the climax in terms of inflation, but wages not showing any sign of rolling over. And that it's not all commodities. It's not commodities equals inflation. It's like there are wages here, a huge part of it. Yes, energy is a huge part of it. Wages are a huge part of it. And it's not just that wages are up. Oh, you tighten everyone's belt, wages are going to come down. There's been a massive exodus from the labor force. So the labor force is smaller. Same thing that happened in oil. You know, maybe more people come into the labor force. It's entirely possible. Maybe businesses go out of business. It's entirely possible. But in that case, I don't know if I like businesses that are supposed to pay me cash. It sounds a whole lot like in that situation they're paying me less cash. I'm not saying a recession is going to happen, but I am battening down the hatches a little bit. Not convinced by today's action. And I'm still staying long. My favorite tech companies, the real 10x growth. But I did take a little bit more off again today of the CRISPR stocks. I'm just trying to raise some cash. Trying to be prepared for what comes. If anything comes, I just happen to not be convinced by peak inflation, therefore rally right now. With the 10-year at 2.9%. I just can't do that. So we'll see what happens. Very difficult time. I'm not trying to say, please take everything here with a grain of salt. I feel somewhat uncertain right now. That's just the way it is. But this is how I'm looking at things. This is how I'm positioned. And we'll see what happens. I can change quick, you know. I rapidly, in about a week, put on tremendous hedges. So we'll see what happens. Until next time, peace out.